So, mashallah, just to the next person. So inshallah we'll continue with the feedback from the MURAQBA we had before Salat al-Isha, inshallah.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So after the protection amals, it was though that Hassan was sitting where Ustad Ishalam is sitting, and I was sort of down and sad, and I got up and you walked over to present my Islam, and they also got up and they sort of greeted me with a big smile on their face, and then from there we was in like a plain, like just open vast land, and they mentioned that go build a house. So I had a toolbox and I started sort of building a house, and every 2 seconds or so I was asking Hasab that where should I put this and how should I use this tool, and they mentioned that whatever is in your toolbox, at least use that, and then whatever isn't in your toolbox or you don't know how to use, then ask for mashra, and then carry on like that. So so I built a house. It was a small to medium house. It wasn't too big, or it was just like a sort of clay house. And then I was there, and again for some particular reason I was just sad again, and they took me by the hand, by the wrist this time, and sort of with a little bit of your force, they sort of took me, and we went all throughout the heavens, the different muqamats, to the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And while we was there, it was a vast house with so much nur and different decorations with the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And Hassan mentioned that we're going to go back down, and the lesson objective is to get another person to hold on to your arm. So we went down back into the world, and it was like a plane, and there was a few people at first. So we went down and one person came up, and then after a while there was tens and hundreds of people, one after the other, and I could see that it was spanning across many different countries. And then from there it was as though that in a different window I was stood up at the Jali Mubarak of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, just continuously giving Islam, and then in a completely different window, it was though that the Hassan was mentioning in the Mazar of Sayyidina Abdul Aziz the Bagh rahmatullah alayhi first, that the awliyaullah, that the vision of the awliyaullah is vast and great, and you must be soft for yourself, but you must speak up. You must speak up for the deen, and the tariq is also part of the deen. So wherever you see people, you should that are not doing as they're supposed to be doing in terms of the tariq. A personal journey is completely different, and that's up to them and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But in matters of tariq, then we have a procedure, and one must follow that procedure. There's no shyness, and also there's no slack in those matters. Then it was though that Sayyidina Abdul Aziz the Bagh, Hasab, and the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was sat outside of Gare Hira, and I was also there. And then they mentioned that look at how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created everything, and there's a system for everything. that even those angels that take the deeds to the Prophet ﷺ on the Monday and the Thursday, they do a special wazifa, and this wazifa allows them to carry those deeds, but also to meet the Prophet ﷺ. And they mentioned that also that these angels, sometimes the awliyaullah, they also present these deeds, and they go through different secondments. So one secondment, or one particular person in Gar Hira, for his training, he would go through 2-3 months of various different spiritual activities. So they mentioned that the Hamalin Arsh, the angels that look after the Arsh, that they also have to pray a particular wazifa to carry the might and the nur of the Arsh. And then also they mentioned that even in the jinn world, is that the people have to pray a different wazifa and go through this training. And then from the vision sort of faded, and also in the Salah there is different experiences.
Okay. Yeah. MashaAllah, obviously, first of all, it's a blessing in itself and heartwarming that if you be in the company of the teacher and they're smiling at you and receiving you. So, if nothing else, that in itself should be the greatest inspiration and motivation for us. Everything else is just add-ons and light upon light, but that in itself is the greatest achievement, one could say as well. And cherish those moments, inshallah. Regarding the house that you're building, that mashallah, this would happen in your personal level as well as part of the whole dawah work you're doing. One is at the personal level, mashallah, and now in the future you'll be building your own house, metaphorically speaking. So doing mashwara is good, and some aspect you already know what that part of that mashwara is, and abiding by the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Never let go of that side. Sometimes there are pressures of the family and so on that we try to compromise. So these things you keep in mind. Do mashwara with the seniors to guide you. But sometimes also that you have to use your intellect as well. It's not about I've not been told to do this, so I didn't do it. That already some guidances are there. You can follow that. Then when you come to the new things, we don't know what to do. Then obviously seek advice, and then they advise you further, carry on. Another aspect is that you're working part of the dawah team and overall whole mission. And that sometimes you find though outside tariq or within the family or whatever else, where politeness is good, but sometimes you have to stand up, and even politely you have to then respond and deal with the matter. Stand up for someone else's right, where you can see day in day out it's been violated, that you're old enough now that you have to stand up and stand up for what is haqq, what is truth as well. And not just sideline just because of the fact that I've got some personal attachment to that person. You still have to stay strong, knowing that what is truth, and then how you apply that, then that's the wisdom comes in. Just because it's truth, you can't just speak out if it's inappropriate, because you always have to think that me speaking out here, will it make it more favorable? Will the outcome be better than worse? One thing is also the nafs comes in. Oh, I know this is truth, I spoke out, I don't care what happens as a result. But then if you know that by you speaking out it will cause more damage or damage, then that approach for that instant would be wrong then. Then you have to think, okay, which other approach I have to do? I'm not going to let it go, but I have to find another approach now which will work better, will give a better outcome. So that's why you need to sometimes think about, and you can do mashwara with the ustad and they'll advise you, inshallah. And part of that is like when it comes to this system, that mashayikh have put every system in place. Yeah, the system thing might be obviously not perfect, how people run it. It's not the system, it's how we run it as individuals. And it doesn't mean the whole system is corrupt and wrong. Yes, there might be things that we don't implement properly, there's a lackness there, there's weakness there, there's nafs involved and so on. And so you're showing to him that in every world, in spiritual world, everything works under a system. There's a hierarchy of things. Like even like you've been shown a secret that we hear a hadith when someone gives a salam and durood, the angels convey to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now you've seen the inside working how this happens. That those angels is a special duty. They prepare themselves almost as though they go through some kind of spiritual training and amals and practices. They're carrying something that will be presented to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So they go to like practices and training, and the system they follow one by one, secondment one after one, more senior than another, one more senior than another, and carries on all the way. Even like for example, pious jinnat, how they operate, they have amirship and full system, systematic way. And this is the order how Rasulullah is shown a sunnat as well, inshallah. So you should always keep that in mind. The showing about the house of Allah is also indicating that here you're trying to create a house in this world at a personal level, and whatever in your own control in terms of dawah and so on. But know that, inshallah, that the perfect house is already there, house of Allah in the heavens, above the asman and above the even arsh. That is the greatest house one could be in, and it's there. And really, Mashaykh ones, they can create house like that perfect. But then, if they take control of everything, then where's the test? Where's out the skill lies? So shown that, if they want, they can create and make that very perfect house as well, and take each student, each follower to that level. And Mashaykh, that's their capability level. Beyond all this, they can take as well. And giving a good news that slowly you can work towards that, inshallah, as well. But then you then have to establish your house in here, whatever control, whatever sphere of control that you have here, inshallah. Personal level and a deen level as well. And all the things, mashallah, like the Mashaykh is, or Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is a light upon light as well. So it's always about having a system, having order, and following that. And yes, there might be weaknesses from people trying to follow, adopt that. It can work on it to remedy that and rectify that. But like they say in English, don't throw the baby with the bathwater. There's nothing wrong with the baby. Yes, the water could be corrupted. Let's get rid of the water, but let's just still work towards that system which has been done according to Sunnah Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, inshallah. And part of that would be that from your dawah point of view, creating house also means that sometimes we're doing effort that we should have a goal in mind. In the past, you mentioned about mid-term, long-term, short-term, mid-term, long-term, that there should be some kind of mission statement that in this area I would like to achieve this by end of second year, 6 months, 9 months, 1 year, that we want to reach to, let's say, 50 youths completely away from deen, and we managed to reach out to them, we actually spend time with them. Or by end of 5 years, we want to reach all the youth of Bolton. That's our aim. So if you don't have a plan like that, then whatever you literally do, one poster you do, I'm happy. This month I've done a poster, I put it up on the streets. But so you have to have this end goal or this mission as well, that in 3 years' time I want to reach this, support all this Zawiya work and then the retreats we're doing. But in 5 years' time, we at least want to get out the prophetic path name that every single youth knows about. Whether they take it or not, that's a different matter. So thinking about media, social media, thinking about the family and the friends contact and the network, how do we reach that? Maybe think about where we can adopt and approach this. It's not about, I'm always doing a thing about deen, I'm talking about deen as well, because they're not interested. They just want a company, some kind of advice, be there. Maybe different outlook as well, inshallah. So that's all part of creating a whole structure of the house as well, inshallah. So this is what you need to think about, inshallah, work with brothers. Take Jazakallah, inshallah. Wa alaikum salam.
After transferring, met Hassab in the Zawiya, and they mentioned, come over here. So I walked over, and they mentioned, after conveying salams, they mentioned, look at this, in their hands there was a person running from place to place, i.e. the person had a busy schedule and he was running from place to place, and Hassan mentioned, when a person is in this state, to the nearest meaning, they should do two things. The first is make sure that that they are not tired by resting sufficiently, and the second is take every single action with enough time and with ease, i.e. a person thinks about every single thing that they are doing. Um, and after this, we transferred into like a desert area. Again, I was in and out of d- different thoughts because I was really tired. I was in and out of different thoughts. Then we ended up in like a desert area, and everywhere it was a desert area at first, but then everywhere as I've looked, it it became populated with plants and and the like. Again, I was in and out of consciousness. I was in and out of focus, and I was quite worried about if I was going to go sleep and disturb all those brothers around me. Then we walked. Then we kept walking, and we were at the Kaaba Sharif, and then I transferred into Hassab's blessed body, and then began walking, doing tawaf around the Kaaba, and then they mentioned that you are tired, go back now, and then the MURAQBA ended there.
Mm.
That's what
Yeah, some of this advice, inshallah, applies maybe to your personal life as well. That, well, yes, you might be busy doing many things, personally, work and so on. Then you have to have some kind of balance. And whatever you do, give a quality time in doing, rather than haphazardly, hastily just running around here and there trying to get things done. Take your time, do things, properly with a good quality time and effort, and create some kind of routine or a timetable where roughly you can follow. Yes, you can adjust that as well, and so they can prioritize some things you have to do, some things okay you can wait till later and so on. So work on that as well. This will help you personally as well, like feeling tired and so on. That for example, if you plan well that before a session you can have small rest, then come. It's all about managing that whole timetable, inshallah. And the rest are fine, like I said, inshallah, in terms of Mashayikh are working hard, even in the barren lands, desert indicating that lack of water, they're putting their effort and going around the world and reviving the land, reviving the hearts of people as well, where they had no iman, maybe small iman, but no faith, no conviction, no Islam, nothing in that sense, or practicing Islam, and they're reviving all that. So saying you could be part of that mission as well, and you are part of that mission, inshallah, if you follow their footsteps, inshallah, as well. Going back to just one point what Brother Umar was saying, also as part of the dawah, that what you should do also adopt as a strategy, that whenever a clique or like a group of people meet, the individuals we talked about, the group of youth, for example, maybe at a local center, amongst your friend circle and so on, not everyone's going to take the message like that. Yeah, you can reach out to them, but then amongst them, there might be one or two jewels, one or two like a gold mine, where although they're living maybe a different lifestyle now, but need a certain guidance and a certain companionship. You have to look out for them. In your experience mentioned. Whenever you find, it doesn't have to be one person in one town already. You might have 2-3 people like that in different localities. So as you recognize them and they actually shows interest, then he can work and build on it, because then he might have a network of people where he can actually influence other people as well. So that way it could be quite smart as well, that putting all the effort of everyone and no one listens to it, you can carry on at that one. This is one strategy. And second strategy is, amongst this dawah you're doing, you might find people 1, 2, 3 where they're showing their interest. So then if you put more effort and time and invest time and effort in them, then slowly through them, then you can reach other people as well and then establish that way. This has been advised generally to all the brothers who especially go to international Jamaat, that many people come and go. Maybe you're not able to keep hold of everyone or interested, but find 1 or 2 people where then they can establish little kind of movements in terms of dawah and majlis and so on, or some kind of activity, and then based on that, then you can slowly build on it and spread across. So that's something you can look for. For example, in Bolton, there may be different areas in Oldham and Manchester as well. So that's something else you can look out for as well, inshallah. Take maybe one more, and it's getting a bit later than I think.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. After I transferred, I found the teacher of the Mazar of Abdul Salam bin Mashish, rahimahullah. And then when I found them, I found the teacher, and they were sat in the presence of Abdul Salam bin Mashish, and I was putting my full attention and focus onto our teacher, trying not to look at any of the other mashayikh. And then all of a sudden I could hear loud footsteps and banging on the mountaintop as though it was shaking. And then Sahib grabbed hold of my hand and they said, now it's your duty to protect Abdul Salam bin Mashish. And then they waited outside, and like an army of people, horsemen with arrows and swords, reminding me of the martyrdom of Abdul Salam bin Mashish. And I was fearful, but because Sahib gave the order, I just stood there. And firstly I saw some other brothers, and I saw yourself, Ustad, was there as well. And I didn't know how to protect, as I've never done this before, but I was just looking at the likes of yourselves and the other Ustads, and you were sacrificing your limbs and your body parts, and I just stood there as the horsemen, they just ran through. We were unarmed, but relentlessly they just struck and killed us. They just took off our limbs, and even though we were limbless, it still felt like we were alive. And Abdul Salam bin Mashish, they smiled and they said, this kind of protection your teacher will be very happy with. And then I just floated away at that moment.
MashaAllah, very detailed. One thing just to note that whenever we refer to any of the mashayikh, that we should always use honorifics in terms of as a respect, mark of respect, titles, like for example Shaykh, Hazrat, Sayyidi, or Mawlai, for example, like we wouldn't refer to our mom and dad by their names. For example, if your father's name is Abdul Rahman, you're not going to say, I met Abdul Rahman, my father, today. Naturally. So Mashaykh are even obviously Allah, the friends of Allah. So always think about having the titles before that, of mark of honor and so on. Because that's also part of the showing adab and respect as well. Just a reminder, inshallah. Yeah, that's also indicate to yourselves that we're getting this pure guidance of light of the teaching of Mashayikh, the Beat, Tariq and Ascension and so on. There'll be a time to time will come where people will take things out, portions of it out, and try to maybe knowingly or unknowingly manipulate it, do things their own way. Whenever you see this, then you should stand up, ready to preserve the teaching and the original teaching of the Mashayikh, and seek help and get team or whatever means to ensure that the original teachings, and this is not necessarily now I'm talking about in the future as well, that stays intact. That this is not gets people are free to use, you can disseminate to anyone. There is no restriction in that sense. It's not like some kind of a secret to the making of Coca-Cola that only for some people know and that's it. Anyone could take and share and benefit from. But someone else that comes along and says, oh, I'm going to take it, put my own name, and I'm going to redesign and do my own things, then no, sorry, we have to stand up and say, look, no, this is the original teaching of the Mashayikh, especially our teacher. I'm going to keep it that way. If you want to utilize, that's fine. Seek permission, you can do so. But we will not stand up for if this thing gets manipulated in that sense as well. So that's an indication, because he was a blessed person, was martyred as well. So he is more representing their life and the teaching and the legacy which are been given to us and for us to continue with the mission, inshallah, as well. And like there are ustads here, mashallah, brothers here that they were ready to actually give their limbs and bodies and so on to ensure that these things doesn't happen and the mission continues as well. So we should be like this. Don't be worried about or scared what's going to happen. Sometimes we think our own self, oh, I'm not a scholar, I don't have knowledge, how can I stand up and defend and say things? He's saying that, look, no matter what weakness or not capable of, you can still do your part. You stand up, do whatever you can do. whatever ustad are doing is whatever in their capability, they're giving their arms and so on, and I should do that as well. And the rest is up to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala anyway, it's not up to us who gets victory and how we preserve things anyway, inshallah. I think enough. Any questions, any difficulties before we finish? Ji. Brother is fine as well.
Huzab said that in order to get better with my spiritual eye in terms of getting permissions, I should practice more at home and everything. But yourself said that I should only do it when Huzab's present. So do I have permission to do it at home, or are we still waiting? It's up to you, whatever. Or if you want
just one thing, because you asked me once as well, and he said, "Oh, is there a book about adab?" I said, "Sometimes it's something you learn. Even if I give you a book about adab, you won't read it as much." From now on, inshallah, it's good that you're asking, because we are learning. I'm learning. You're learning as well. Is when it comes to these things, best not to ask, "Can I do this? Can I know this? Can I do this practice as well?" That is actually against the adab to ask teachers as well, because they know best what your situation is, what you are doing. Because if you were to go find your own way to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then that's fine. Then you have to start doing research. Okay, I should be doing this zikr, this zikr, this zikr, this amal, this muraqabah. If you're under instruction of the guide and he's giving instruction and you're following, then just keep quiet and carry on with your task. When the time is right, they'll tell you, okay, do this now. So it's not your job to decide when is the right time for me. They'll decide for you.
I apologize about that, but I only asked because Huzab said.
Yeah, why did he say? Because he kept asking as well.
He might have given general advice.
So what I'm saying is now, you can consult the ustad, they've been advising already, is inshallah, speak to them, they'll tell you what to do, and don't worry about the spiritual journey or this muraqabah, that. The fact that you're attending here physically and listening to our teacher and being in the present, that in itself is spirituality. There's nothing else really needed. Whatever happens beyond that, they'll advise you. You don't have to, ask, shall I do this next? Shall I not do this next? When does my course finishes? This is not for us to ask. And remember this golden principle: we should not ask for any amals or muraqabah ourselves. Okay, just leave it to them. They'll mention it, inshallah. Okay, if you just follow this one principle, you save yourself from many hassle. Because at the end of the day, maybe they're not giving it to you yet. But because you keep asking, "Oh, I'm clarifying," and then you start. Then after 2 days, then you drop down. "Oh, I can't do it anymore." Then you don't benefit from it. So that's why you should build yourself enough so they can continue. You can be consistent and you're able to do so. If you, let's say, for example, are struggling with the basics, for example, let's get that in order first. And maybe they're not saying in those very words that I'm saying, but there's a wisdom behind that. This is to have compassion upon you as well, to help you, inshallah. So now, muraqabah things, inshallah, you already introduced, you know how to do, you come every week. So that, and look, we just had a feedback, people have permission, they're not struggling to do now. They're forcing themselves to come here to do once a week. So because, it's always something that we think the grass is greener on the other side. It's not that you come in regularly and practicing, that is sufficient now, inshallah. Do your personal ibadat, whatever you're doing, inshallah. The time comes, you'll be doing other things as well. Main thing is, it's not the muraqabah you're after. Main thing is, you want a closeness and pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. No matter what way it comes, whether you cooking, whether you're serving people, whether, for example, you're cleaning shoes. Like the story, if you hear Hazrat was mentioning the story this morning about this person, by fraudster, he was given to look after mango trees in the field. And that was his zikr. He didn't do anything else, looking after the trees and the plantation and so on. But then at the end of the day, because he was sincere on that task, he couldn't make sense. How am I reach Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by serving the tree here? But he even keep serving. But at the end of the story is, he reached the walayat, the friendship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it doesn't matter which way it comes. As long as it comes, that's what you're after. That's what you're after, inshallah. Whether through the muraqabah, through service, through patience, because you're ill, you're being patient. You're suffering every day. That's another road for you. Through charity, through service. There's so many different ways as well, inshallah. So that's our goal. That I want to reach the closeness, pleasure, and closeness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Whether it happens through muraqabah or zikr, whatever, Allah knows better, and the teacher knows best for me as a guidance.
Thank you for your advice.
Okay, inshallah.
Ustad.
But you're already in touch with the private anyway. I'll speak to you at private level, inshallah. Take, mashallah. Ji, can I? Mashallah. You can say in Urdu as well. Achha. Okay, in that case, inshallah, we'll finish for end the session today. Jazakallah for your attendance.